So continuing this video, part two is um, my biological father, when he showed up at that apartment complex, I have to say this, it might have not been him. It may have just looked like somebody that was a lot like him. But I want to say this very crucially important because there was very few people that sort of walked the way that he did, in the way that he sort of just functioned, the way that he sort of presented himself. Um, Now, I want to say this because he showed up. The guy that was threatening me that he was going to rape the little girls, he showed up after my biological father, if that was him that showed up, and he looked down the hall and he says, "You better give me my money or I'm going to go after the girls." He may have been threatening me. And this is a short, little tiny short Mexican guy. This guy was a little short, tiny little Mexican guy. In fact, this same Mexican guy, you know what he looked like? He looked like the same exact guy many years ago who was responsible for sabotaging my transmission when I had my bone marrow transplant right across the street from Green Tree Apartments where I used to live. And I talked about that there was a guy that looked like he was literally behaving, acting out Ken Cooper and looks just like him. And a mechanic, little tiny short guy, said I needed, a fluid change. I mean, this guy did not. This guy looked like a little swarmy piece of shit. And this guy looked like a mechanic when he knocked on the door. He looked like he was wearing the same outfit. Looked just like him. You might want to do an investigation on that. And when this guy showed up, he looked down the hall and he may have been threatening because he could have been gay, I don't know, or someone sent him because he found out my biological father showed up and he thought that he was after maybe my mother's money or my father's money, or to replace something. But I want to make sure and say something. This is the evidence that has now been proven to me that if it was my biological father, bingo. I found out that there was a guy going after, the homosexuals went after him. You know what I'm telling you this? Because when I tell you this, Ken Cooper and Sarah Cooper were mouthing off really bad about my biological father, especially Ken Cooper, and saying that basically you were raping my mother because she was really young. So he tried to put the blame on me, Frankie, and Julian, and your daughter that died, so that Ken Cooper can now put that bad energy on you, saying you were screwing my mother when she was 14 or 15 years old, and you got her pregnant and took off, and you're a bad monster, and Raymond Palomo's a good guy. And that's what he did, because he mouthed off really bad about you. So at that time, I didn't know that I even had a biological father. I truly, to the core of my being, Michaela, I always believed that I was from my father's blood. I believed that Raymond Palomo had sex with my mother, got her pregnant, and I am his genetic makeup. Well, that is not the truth. So I did not know this. Had I known this, things would have been different. But I have to say this because when I saw this guy, I know, like, when he walked by me, it was like his soul, or his, like I know who this guy is. This guy, I mean, this is him. I am from his cloth. I am from you're my biological father. And it was weird because when he walked by me and he took a glance at me, he didn't invade me to be all nice and play fatherly like, but he was just greeting me like he was sort of a stranger, but he had this sense of like I was your son. And I don't want to go into too much being analytical about this, because what happens if he's not my biological father? Then no, I got it wrong. No, but I want to say this because if it turns out to be my biological father, I think it's a very high chance that it was, because as soon as I told Julian, and I said, I'm nervous about the guys that are coming over. This is kind of nervous. I don't know who these guys are. As soon as I told Julian, the next day I remember opening the door and he seemed like maybe somebody had sat him down and he was kind of nervous, like somebody had done something. So I want to make this video, Michaela. I don't know if my biological father's still alive, but I can tell you this right now, they went after him. And it was Ken Cooper and Sarah Cooper that arranged this. Just like Sarah Cooper and Ken Cooper going after my mother and Jillian and Frankie, that is why. Let me say a message out to my biological father. Yo te entiendo. Los dos estamos derecho. I know where you come from. In this place that we are in, it is a full-blown homosexual persecution, and they're going to go, like they went after me, they're going to go after you. Please be careful. I'm going to be doing things in your honor. I'm here to support you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to do anything I can to honor your daughter, to honor my sister, to help Michaela, to help this situation and keep Sarah and Ken and Kenneth Cooper at the radio station away from my family. I cannot express this enough that Kenneth from the radio station, DJ Keynote, and all his goons and all the black niggas over at the radio station, and Ken and Sarah Cooper maliciously ripped your daughter in half, and they're continuing to do it by sending the people. I know that they went after you. They're going to go after your job site and your money, and they're going to send the police officers to come and get you. I guarantee you that if you did go to prison, that's who did it. That's who did it. That is who did it, because they did it to me. Ken Cooper took my father to Las Vegas and gambled a bunch of money, won a bunch of money, and never told him about Miguel, this guy that lived 2 houses down from us that raped the shit out of my older brother Frankie. And he was laughing and joking. He gave my dad a fucking gun, but didn't tell him that his son was being raped. That guy is gay, and that guy is crazy. That guy is a definition of evil. For someone to be able to allow a child to get raped like that, and he wants to invest his son over at Michael Jackson at the radio station and maliciously attack my mother when my father committed suicide. When Raymond Paloma committed suicide, Ken and Sarah Cooper charged at my mother several times and threatened her in front of her face, and used used your daughter and your sister Michaela as a threatening weapon against my mother. And as soon as Sarah Cooper pointed over to the room and pointed toward her direction, Sarah Cooper kind of did this. I don't want to say anything because I got to protect Miguel. He raped Frankie. I don't want to say nothing, this is the secrets of the gays, free coupon. That's what she did, and that's what Ken Cooper did. Ken Cooper, it was totally opposite sides. They completely maliciously went after my mother. I'm not lying. I'm going to draw pictures about this. So biological father, Hector, I am the same name as you, but I also had the same birthday as my biological father. I was raped by the transgenders and the homosexuals that are all coming around me. They're going to go after Michaela. There's this guy that I don't know what the situation is with my mother having this dementia or what's going on, but I know that whatever it is, my mother probably would have preferred for you to be in the picture than Sarah and Ken. And this is how they took advantage of it. They're old, they're white supremacists that are showing up. I know Michaela's mother's white. So I've already received a lot of threats about you that are being directed toward you. I called the police department in Lawrence, Kansas, and this guy was referencing saying, no, that's what I like, saying that they sent a white woman over toward you because you gave me up to Raymond. And so they're trying to turn the table so that I attack and hate you, and that's not going to happen. You're a man. I understand that this is a difficult world. I'm here to support you. Don't ever think that I'm not going to expel you from my life. I know that Sarah and Ken and these motherfuckers and these faggots went after you. So I'm going to make this very clear, and they're going to cover everything up in all their tracks because they know that I'm going for everything. They're going to know that I'm going to find out if the day that you're still alive, and I speak to you, why you went to prison, and all the details. They're going to try to cover up the tracks so that it doesn't lead back to Sarah and Ken and that people. I'm telling you, it's those pigs that did it. Now, if you're in the picture, and I was you in that house, then I know that you've had been in contact with your daughter, Michaela. You had to. That means you're overlooking things. And I want to go into more detail about this. One of the reasons why I believe you were also alive. When I went to Lizard Lounge one day before I got raped by a transgender, and they were shooting me with these electronic devices and threatening me so hostile, I went to a club to try to relax. And I went to Lizard Lounge. And when I was in the bathroom, there was a guy that looked very close, a lot like you, and he was sort of rushing me. And this guy showed up, and he was sort of rushing me to go screw a girl, go pick her up. And I was there to have a good time, but you don't understand that even some of the girls that already had boyfriends, so they wouldn't give me their number, but it was the idea that when I got there, my work environments were so threatening and so hostile that it was hard to function in any kind, because by this point I've already gotten 25 tickets, and it's only been a few years after chemotherapy and a transplant. Now, I want to make this very clear to you. Please look after your life. I don't know what's going on. I hope you didn't have a stroke. I hope you're in good health. Please stay healthy and strong. Ken Cooper's supporters and the Catholicism church organization that he built is now using that to pick up your dead daughter and scavenge off the remains and go after you and cover everything up. This is a planned out murder. This is a planned out targeting tool that they're using because they need a wash rag. I'm not joking about this. So I want to make this very clear, Michaela. I know that you're not allowed to be around me for some reason or say anything about what's ever going on, but you have no idea that I have been continuing to be threatened, that they're going after you and my biological father because my father was gay. Now, I can't help it if my father was gay, but he ended up having sex several times with my mother. So I wanted to say this because my mother has dementia and everything that's going on with this. I want to make sure to tell you this. Ken Cooper went at just the way that he was talking shit about you and your daughter and sent Sarah Cooper and all these people to scavenge off your deceased daughter. You probably may have not found out. Maybe you did find out. But I do remember when I opened that door, you looked at me, and I get a sense that maybe you knew that your daughter died. And I looked into his eyes. Maybe it wasn't him, but if it was, I got a sense that you knew that it was your biological sister. I don't know what it was, but when I looked and I just walked, cracking through the door and looking and seeing what was going on. And I saw you just kind of doing this, sitting on the bed and just... So I want to say this very clearly. They went after you. And it is Sarah and Kim. This is a full-blown white supremacy in the LGBT community. It's nothing about anything else. Because of Michael Jackson and because of President Barack Obama and George Bush. George Bush talked to the President of the United States, to my father, right before 9/11. And that's what my father told me when I was 16 years old. 2 months before 9/11 actually happened. And they sent all these sergeants and all this other crazy shit that was going on. So I wanted to make sure, and I wanted to tell you this because your life is in danger, just like mine is. All of them, what they're doing is they're getting this information and they're trying to portray themselves to see what color of what side you're going to take, and it's going to leverage over for them for their supremacy. And then they staple it with this has nothing to do about any love, kindness, caring, compassion, nothing. This is all about just a logo of a fucking false crucifix running their own agendas and own game plan against that dead little girl. Now, I don't know where she's buried. There was no funeral ceremony of any zero kind in our house, outside of our house. My mother just came home and said she just went to the trash can, basically. And she just pouted, and I'm not telling you this out of anger. I'm telling you this because I know what I'm telling you. Ken and Sarah Cooper, they're on a suicide mission. This is a suicide mission. This is, I'm going to kill, and I'm going to kill myself to make sure I can get away, and they're going to will the things down all the way until there's no more time. I'm telling you that Ken and Sarah Cooper knew that I got raped and Frankie got raped and were nasty. There was no communication in our house. Sarah Cooper was going after Julian and Frankie, and this is why they went after me and didn't say it. And all these things because they planned this out very carefully. They're going after your daughter and the dead remains of the ceremony, and they're sending their platoon of people to do it for them. This is because of Michael Jackson.